Welcome, everyone. I hope you all have had a good time at Summit so far. My name is Destiny Miller. I am an executive assistant at Course Hero, and I'm very excited to welcome you to the session on promoting student mental and physical health in any discipline, which will be led by Joab Corey, an associate professor of teaching and economics at the University of California, Riverside. We hope this session will inspire folks to share ideas with one another throughout the session. We welcome questions, comments, and feedback in the chat. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Corey.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all being here. I know there's other sessions you could have chosen, so I'm glad to see so many people here attend this one. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. So as I mentioned, my name is Joab Corey. I'm associate professor of teaching in economics at the University of California, Riverside. I also happen to volunteer as the coach of their boxing team, and then also happen to volunteer occasionally on the weekends as a scuba dive master to teach their scuba classes. So I'm really big into like activity and engaging with students, not only inside the classroom, but outside the classroom as well. Inside the classroom, I do things like wear these pro-economic slogan t-shirts, which are actually ideas that come from students. It's their very first assignment is like this extra credit t-shirt slogan that they can turn in for 1 extra credit point. And if that slogan is good enough for me to actually turn into a shirt and wear it throughout the class, then I give them 2 extra credit points for it. And as you can see, there's a few shirts there, right, being modeled by me and some of my students back in my younger years when I still had hair. And then again, like I mentioned, I coach the boxing team in the evening and the help teach the scuba classes or occasionally on the weekends. So caring a lot about mental and physical health, I've kind of noticed somewhat of a disturbing trend, right? And I actually did a little bit of research to see if this trend was true or not. But it says here that according to these studies, during the 2020-2021 school year, more than 60% of college students met the criteria for at least one mental health problem. And this is according to a Healthy Mind study, which collected data from 373 campuses nationwide. In addition to that, another national survey, almost 3/4 of students reported moderate or severe psychological distress. And young people ages 18 to 22 are significantly more likely to be lonely than any other generation in the United States. So after reviewing these studies, I kind of came upon the idea that maybe I should be doing more to kind of promote mental health in my classes. And then there's also, particularly as a result of the pandemic and our isolation, there was a reduction in physical activity as well. It says here that walking, moderate, vigorous, and total physical activity levels have been reduced during the COVID-19 pandemic confinements. And university students across different countries, basically college students, a big form of their exercise was getting up and walking through campus to class. And during the pandemic, when they were taking classes online and remotely, right, that level of physical activity went away. As other research indicates that most college students are not meeting physical activity guidelines. So again, someone who cares a lot about physical health, I figure maybe there's more I could do to promote physical health in my classes as well. Now, whenever I do a teaching conference like this, I always want attendees to come away with at least one thing that they can do right away that might help improve their courses. So with that in mind, some of the stuff I'm talking about later might not be something that you can do, say, today or tomorrow or this month. All right, but this right here is something that you can actually do right away. So as part of a book club, reading here on campus, reading the book, What Inclusive Instructors Do, Principles and Practices for Excellence in College Teaching. And in that book, there was this study here, the reference to study that says in a sample of 765 college students, 22% of respondents heard about their on-campus mental health services from their instructors, right? So with that in mind, I figure it might be a good idea to start including some of this information on my syllabus and on my course site homepage. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to be maybe somewhat awkwardly here, stopping my sharing of the screen and resharing with actual things from my Canvas homepage. So I'm going to share my screen again and take you to my course site. So if you log into my course site, this is what students are going to see on the homepage. If you're thinking, wow, this is really well put together and designed, that's because my wife is an instructional designer at Mount San Jacinto College. So all credit goes to her for how good this actually looks, right? But in terms of the content, one of the things that I include here on this Canvas homepage is what thing I call student resources. If students click on this student resources page, then they're going to see a list of all the mental health services and other services provided by the university. right? So including campus health and wellness or counseling and psychological services, the Title IX office, the Student Disability Resource Center, and always, again, just include my email and my actual cell phone number, which I do include on the syllabus, just so they can reach out to me if they need anything as well, right? My 3 pillars of teaching is always think it's important to be enthusiastic in the classroom, hence the pro-economic slogan t-shirts. I always think it's important to be organized so students know exactly what's coming each step along the way of their learning process. And then finally, it's good to let students know that you care. And I think giving them my cell phone number and my email and just kind of showing that I do care about them, not only as far as their learning, but just them as people, right? I think it's a big part of my teaching practice, right? So again, that's something you can do right away on your syllabus or on your course site. Just include a list of services that the university offers, because according to that study, it looks like a large majority, almost 1/4 of students are hearing about these mental health services from their instructors. So again, I was thinking, what can I do to help improve the mental and physical health of my students? And at the same time, I was also doing some other research on improving cognition among students. And there's a book by Terry Doyle called Learner-Centered Teaching, Putting the Research on Learning into Practice. And he says in that book that there are 3 cognitive enhancements that have been well tested to actually enhance cognitive function. And those are exercise, meditation, and some computer games, right? Armed with this knowledge that these are 3 things that we know improve cognition and also wanting to increase mental and physical health, right? I have created this idea of a virtual break room for my classes. So I'm going to invite you now to come check it out. Once again, I'm going to stop sharing and share my screen again. So going back to my Canvas page, if a student were to click on modules, right, this is what they would see, right? So again, module 1, as part of being organized, I always include this overview page, right, that has a list of things for students to complete in that particular module, right? So again, I include all the videos that I use if I'm teaching this class, either online or in person. I provide those videos, including a timestamp there, and I always provide the slides in both PowerPoint and PDF format in order to accommodate the people who need those different formats, right? And then again, there's like a discussion video, an assignment, some practice questions, some other practice questions that come from the publisher, a weekly review session video, and then their module quiz. But the very last thing to complete in the module is this virtual break room. And right now I have it set as completely optional. They never have to go in and do this if they don't want to. But if ever, as they're working through all the steps in this module, they need a break, right? And they can just click right on that virtual break room and take one. So let's take a look at what that virtual break room includes. So there's the economic t-shirt slogan, extra credit, by the way. But yeah, if you were to click on that virtual break room, this is what a student would see. So every one of my virtual break rooms, and I have one of these for every one of my learning modules in the class, it includes an exercise break, right? Because we know that exercise is one of those things that improves cognition. And I noticed that during the pandemic, you know, a lot of people were having that Zoom or that screen fatigue, and they just needed a minute to take a break or whatever, right? So again, if they're watching those lecture videos and they need a break, they can just pause the video and turn on the exercise break, right? And in this particular case, the exercise break is the Baby Shark ab challenge, which is about 1.5 minutes long of people doing these ab exercises according to the popular kid song Baby Shark. Right now, for each one of these exercise breaks, I have a section here called Pass the Prof. Right, this is basically my performance during the exercise break, so they can try to beat me if they like, right? And it says here, I do this for 3 consecutive rounds. I work through this 1.5 minute ab challenge, all right, 3 times through, all right, with no more than 15 seconds of a break between rounds. Now, there's actually a thing out there called the Baby Shark ab challenge, and that's to complete this workout once a day for 30 straight days. So I invite students to participate in that as well. Right. In addition to that, there is also a relaxation break, right? A relaxation break is usually a kind of guided meditation, or sometimes it's a light stretching workout, or again, it's a breathing exercise, right? But again, these one of those things that we know improves cognition is meditation. So I include something like that in there as well. Right. And then I have an intellectual break, which I'll go into more detail here in a minute. It's kind of the star of this show, but this is a virtual escape room. And for every one of my learning modules, I've created a digital escape room that students can complete with different clues that are related around a story and a puzzle that they have to solve. Right. So, I always invite students to send a Zoom link to their fellow classmates and try to work in this as a group, right? Unlock the clues. And again, all they got to do is open up the slideshow, click around, and then they're going to be able to see the different clues that are going to pop up and use that to, again, solve the locks and get out of the room as quickly as they can. And just to let you all know that these digital escape rooms, again, there's one for every chapter, and we're going to go into more detail on that here in a minute. And then I have a social break. The social break is the Good Vibes discussion board, and for every one of these digital or these virtual break rooms, I have this discussion board available, right, where students can just get on there and they can either comment on their performance from the exercise challenge, right? They can talk about their time escaping the room, right? They can ask for hints for the virtual escape room, right? They can just talk about something from that particular chapter that interests them. I went ahead and brought up the Good Vibes discussion for this class here. So we're actually in week 1 of the summer class. So this module 1 is due at the end of the day on Sunday, right? But so far we've got a few people commenting about the virtual break room. One person said that they've enjoyed everything about it, but their favorite was the exercise break, since that was one of their New Year's resolutions. Somebody else mentioned that the exercise break was, again, fun. They did it with their little brothers and laughed so hard that it's funny for us to do simultaneously. And as you can see, I try to comment on these different comments that students are making, kind of increase my engagement with them. Right now, this class is being taught online. So with that in mind, I don't really see them that much because they are taking the class asynchronously, right? Again, they watch those videos, they complete these assignments, right? I do have these optional student hours that they can attend anytime they want through Zoom, right? During the Monday through Friday, right? So I've got these listed times that they can join in during. But again, if they don't join in, then I'm never going to see them. So I try to figure out ways to interact with them. One of those ways is, again, including these virtual break rooms with this discussion board. That's completely optional. They never have to participate if they don't want to. Now, whether I teach this class online or in person, I do offer up this virtual break room in each class, right? So if it's in person, I always tell them that, as you're working through those assignments on your own time, feel free to join the virtual break room. If it's online, right, where I'm not teaching face-to-face, but they're watching those videos, again, always make sure when I'm sending out my reminder emails to invite them to join that virtual break room as well. Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick and see if anybody has any questions about anything, and then I'll reshare and we'll watch a little bit of the exercise break so you can see what that looks like, and then I'll take you all into that digital escape room. Does anybody have any questions? You can unmute your mic or you can pop it into the chat, whichever you prefer.
Not seeing any questions so far.
Okay, so not yet. That's all right. I will again open up for questions a little bit later. So again, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you again. So again, if you're going to a virtual break room, here's what a little bit of the exercise challenge might look like, right? Again, if you want to incorporate an exercise challenge into your class, then what you want to do is you want to try to use something that's pretty short, like no more than, say, 15 minutes. And I'd say, at least maybe something a minute long, right? This, again, is about a minute and a half. So let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this. I apologize in advance if this gets that Baby Shark song stuck in your head. I have 4 kids at home, including a 16-month-old daughter. So I hear this song more often than I like. But now that I know that there's this app challenge that goes with it, sometimes I'll do it while listening to that song with her. Let's take a look real quick at what that exercise break looks like. Now, if you're like me, that makes you tired just looking at it, right? But at the same time, it is only a minute and 33 seconds long. So again, just enough time for them to get up out of their seat, right? Get a little bit of exercise and maybe kind of restore their mental energy to continue on with the course, right? But again, that's what that module 1 exercise challenge looks like. Now, again, I've got a different one of these for every single module. So if you were to go into module 2's virtual break room. Then again, you would see in this case, it is the 200 squat workout, right? So again, this video contains 10 different types of squats that you do for 10 reps each for a total of 2 rounds. And again, I have a pass the prof where I said like my time for completing this workout so students can beat it as well. Again, the relaxation break includes a short relaxation video. There's a different virtual escape room and again, a different good vibes discussion board, right? So I'm going to stop sharing so I can open up my slides again and give you an idea of what that virtual digital escape room looks like. So again, what we're trying to do here is improve a little bit of physical health, maybe improve a little bit of mental health, increase cognition, right? That's why we have these exercise breaks. That's why we have these meditation breaks, right? And as far as some computer games are concerned, right? Again, there is this digital escape room. Now, I want you to know that this digital escape room isn't completely my idea, right? There's actually a website that teaches you how to make digital escape rooms if you want to do so. And I have no affiliation with this website. Like I don't own stock in this company or anything like that, but I will advertise it because I did find it to be particularly useful. It is a one-time $19 fee for a lifetime subscription that not only grants you directions on how to create this, but it also gives you a lot of pre-formatted materials. Now, as far as the directions are concerned, it's pretty easy to follow, right? Again, you can probably create these without these directions if you know enough about using like Google Slides and Google Documents, right? Having said that, the pre-formatted materials are easily worth that $19 because it saves you from having to create a lot of stuff from scratch, right? So I invite you to go ahead and check out my virtual escape room. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen again and show you what that virtual escape room looks like. So if you were a student and you were to go into the virtual escape room, this is what you would see, right? So it looks a little bit like this, right? And it's just, again, this is an image of a classroom that I have on a Google slide, and then I just embed other images into this slide and then link those images to these Google slides that contain these clues. So the first thing that a student would do would be click on this lock. And each one of my digital escape rooms has a story. So this story reads, oh no, you've been accidentally locked in your economics professor's classroom. In order to get out, you must click around the room to uncover clues that unlock the doors. Make sure you read each clue carefully as you attempt to solve the riddles that will allow you to escape. Feel free to work in groups and try it on their own. This is just for fun and will not be graded, but you can time yourself and use a stopwatch on your phone, and your group can post the time in the discussion board for bragging rights. Good luck and have fun. And so these are the different locks that I have here. And again, these are things that come in that pre-formatted list of documents that you can buy for that one-time fee of $19, right? So there's an 8-letter word lock. And for each one, I give a kind of example of what that answer might look like along with the formatting, right? I have a 3-digit number lock with a decimal, a 5-digit number lock, a 4-letter lock, 4-digit number lock. Some of my digital escape rooms have map locks where they have to use cardinal directions like north, south, east, and west. Some of them have color locks, right? So again, you can get pretty creative with it if you want. Going back to the virtual escape room, we can kind of show you what these clues look like. If they were to click on, say, this bulletin board here, right, one of the first things they learn in my economics class, and by the way, you can do this again in any discipline. It doesn't have to necessarily be economics, but that is what I teach. So the first thing they learn in economics is the definition of economics, which is a study of how people make choices under scarcity. So scarcity is the 8-letter word that they're looking for here to solve that lock. Now, if they've been watching the lecture videos and paying attention, they should know that. But even if they haven't watched the lecture video, they might be able to figure that out if they pay enough attention. If you notice, there are a few letters here that are bolded. If you look at all the bolded letters, SCARCITY, it spells out scarcity. So they can figure it out that way as well, right? If they're to look at, say, this book here, this is a clue that's going to pop up that says, which economic guidepost does each statement best represent? Use the number of the guidepost that corresponds with each statement to unlock the door. Right. So again, they have to put these 5 statements in order of which guidepost it corresponds to. Right now, if you are, again, paying attention, you know what the 8 guidepost economic thinking are by watching my lecture videos. But even if you were, say, to not have that list available, I actually have that also contained here throughout the room. So again, they can be clicking around and looking for these different types of clues and putting them together in order to escape the room, right? So here's the 8 guideposts to economic thinking. Also have the 4 pitfalls to avoid in economic thinking, which is related to another clue that's scattered throughout the room, right? So once again, they start entering in these clues. Like if they enter in the correct answer of scarcity, right, then again, it's going to go ahead and say that they got it right. Now, if they enter in something else that's wrong, say they enter in the example instead, right? It's going to say, try again, think about why we have to study economics. Always give them a clue, like a slight hint, whenever there is an incorrect answer, right? Now, if they escape the room, right, so say they enter in all the clues correctly, then this pops up. They actually get a digital badge that says that they escaped. It says, you've escaped from your professor's classroom. Hope you have fun and learn some concepts from chapter 1. Don't forget to post your time on the discussion board for bragging rights and some friendly competition. So that's when they would go to that good vibes discussion board, right? And again, kind of say how fast their group finished or escaped the room. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my slides, but that's what the virtual escape room looks like. Again, I kind of match the settings and the tailor the information towards what they learn in each module. So for example, in module 2, we learn about private property rights, right? Voluntary trade versus coerced or illegal trades, right? So my digital escape room setting is a courtroom. And again, they click on different things in that room and different clues pop up that are related to chapter 2. So going back to our slides here, right, I encourage you, if you are interested, to create your own virtual breaks in your classes. And if you want, you can create a digital escape room as part of that. The virtual break rooms themselves aren't that difficult to create. Having said that, the actual digital escape room might take some time for you to come up with a story, think about clues and how they relate to the material. That's what took the longest to create as part of this experience here, right? Now, I do want to kind of mention that when I teach online, I do adopt the community of inquiry model, right? That was kind of pioneered and discussed by Randy Garrison. And that consists of 3 things. First of which is called teaching presence, right? So you want to create a positive learning environment with different methods of providing content. And so again, creating this virtual break room where I'm actually involved as an instructor with that plastic prof challenge for the students, as well as again, creating these virtual or these digital escape rooms that students can interact with the material in a different kind of way. It's kind of part of that, right? Another part is cognitive presence. This is a 4-phase process, right? Again, you want to trigger an event such as an issue or problem. Like, for example, solving the clues to get out of that digital escape room. Exploration through reflection and discussion, right? That's where, again, students are going to explore around the room, click on clues, talk about it with their group mates, and see if they can come up with a solution to those riddles, right? Again, meaning construction as students discuss these ideas. And so you want to engage in that meaningful construction of solutions, and then the application of knowledge both in the course and hopefully eventually outside the classroom. Right. So again, using those digital escape rooms, hopefully getting them to interact with the material in a more meaningful way than maybe they would do in that multiple choice assignment that's part of that learning module. And then finally, you want to facilitate social presence as well. That's communication both between and with the instructor, as well as all members of the class, that moves the class from an introduction to this material to community among their classmates to camaraderie. Right. And so again, having them work together through completing these digital escape rooms, right, is a way to build that camaraderie. Also having them engage in friendly competition in that good vibes discussion board, right, is something else that can help build that camaraderie as well, right? So again, this is in addition to improving physical and mental health and increasing cognition, I'm also adapting this community of inquiry model and reflecting that in these virtual breaks. Now, the real question is, how do students feel about having this? So every year I give out a midterm teacher evaluation. And again, if there's one thing that you want to start doing in your classes that I would recommend, if you, that you can pull from this particular session, you might not want to create your own virtual break room or digital escape room right away. But from now on, if you haven't been doing this, I highly recommend it. Include a midterm teacher evaluation where you ask students how the class is going for them so far and how you can make it better. So that's just three main questions. What's your favorite part of the course so far? What's your least favorite part of the course so far? And then what are some recommendations you have for improving the class? Now, ever since I started doing these virtual break rooms, I've added a fourth question in here, which reads like this. For this class, I've added a virtual break room to each module that contains an exercise challenge, a relaxation break, a virtual escape room, and that corresponds to the information in each module, and a discussion board. Have you explored the optional module break rooms yet? If so, what was your favorite part? And if not, why not? Do you like having the virtual break room available? Or do you feel like it just clutters up the module in an already busy class? Right. So that's kind of what I've asked students. And here are some of the responses or select responses from this midterm teacher evaluation. So I'm going to share with you the good, the bad, and the Right. The is just like, I guess it was all right. I haven't really looked at it yet, but I don't mind that it's there. Right. So with that in mind, here's some of the more positive responses. A student wrote, I've explored the virtual break rooms and I like the exercise break. It was a welcomed addition to the module. They're always placed at the end of the module, making it hard for anyone to confuse them with any assignments that we have for the week. Somebody else said the relaxation breaks, escape rooms, and exercise challenges are a great mood booster, especially when they feel overwhelmed. Another student reported that having a virtual break is important for learning because learning for hours without breaks can be very draining and make it harder to focus over time. Another student wrote that I've looked through these virtual break rooms and I thought it was really nice and it should be something that all professors implement into online learning platforms. It kind of gives students a safe space to relax and take a breather. Here's some other positive responses that specifically call out certain parts of the break room. If you want to maybe include a break room that doesn't include everything, right? Here's some things that students have kind of mentioned about each of these components. One student says, I usually just watch the relaxation break videos. I have not explored the other activities because I mostly find interest in those relaxation videos. Another student says, I have and enjoyed the relaxation breaks. I like having the option available for when I need to take a break. So those are two students who cited the relaxation break as their favorite part. Another student says, I use the exercise challenge. Since I'm an athlete here, I want to try it out and it's pretty fun. Yes, I like having a virtual break because it's helpful to not just think about schoolwork for a little bit. Right. Another student says that they tried a specific, this was from my module 5 break room, the try not to laugh challenge video. I usually put that one there in module 5 because it's the first module after their first exam. So they kind of need not only a break from the learning, but just a stress release and a more fun exercise challenge. So there's one called the try not to laugh challenge video, where again, you try to do an exercise while not laughing when it shows you funny stuff. And it says that I found this to be very entertaining. At the same time, I do get some exercise along with the video to take a break from sitting in front of the computer. Then a couple people cited, or at least one person cited the escape room. Right, says I have done an escape room and it was fun. They're study games and I enjoy them. Somebody says I think it helps because sometimes you all need a little boost. It'd be fun to have a discussion board where people just talk about whatever they want. So in other words, not having a required discussion board where they have to post something about a certain topic, but rather an open-ended good vibes discussion board where the only requirement is that it has to be positive and they can't be doing any cyberbullying. Now, there were a few what I would call somewhat negative responses. They're not that negative, but they did mention that there's something about it that kind of makes them a little bit maybe less comfortable with the class. So one person says, I have not explored the module because I feel timid to explore it. The virtual break room is new to me. I never heard of or had a module like this. Somebody else says, I feel like this gives me a little more anxiety just because of the way that I approach the modules. If the module block is a little longer, I feel a little more overwhelmed. If it's shorter, I feel like the module is more doable. So I know that the work isn't any more or less, because again, these are optional. But in terms of mental preparation and just the placebo effect, seeing shorter module blocks makes me happier. I mean, that is a legitimate concern. And if seeing a long module makes somebody stressed out, and this does add one more step to the module, then I guess that is something to take into consideration. And somebody else just wrote, I do feel like it just clutters up the module in an already busy class. And then a student said, I tried the first break room from the first module, and I feel it's an interesting, unique material to add onto the class. Although it does clutter up the module a little bit, I think it is a nice addition in class. Perhaps instead of including the break room inside each module, make a separate section in the module tabs for just the big break rooms. So in other words, under modules, instead of having this as the last step at the end of each module, have a separate optional break room module series, and just have all the virtual break rooms contained there. I haven't used that suggestion yet, but I am thinking about maybe doing it in the future, right? See if that changes anything. Now, I want you to know that these were all the negative responses. These weren't just some selected ones in this case, but there wasn't really anything else more negative than that. And then here's kind of a little bit of my favorite. They're the responses, because all these are people who are saying they haven't really explored the virtual break room yet, but they like that it's there, which I always thought was a little bit weird. Like, why do you like it if you haven't looked at it? But it says, I love the idea of having a virtual break room set up. However, I haven't used it yet because I haven't had much downtime. I love having it available though. Another student says, I have not used it because I was unsure of what it was. I really like that we have the option. It's just a fun addition to the class. Just having this kind of thing included makes the class feel more inviting. And then somebody else says, I have not checked it out yet. I feel like I definitely should check it out, though. I feel like just having it available is good. And the last one, I haven't used the break rooms yet because I haven't felt the need to, but I think it's a really cool option to include. And it makes me feel like the professor cares about his students. Again, my 3 goals, right? Be enthusiastic, be organized, and be caring, or at least make students think or know that I care about them as people in addition to their learning. And I feel like this kind of gets that across, right? So I like including these responses because these are students who haven't even looked at it, haven't gone into it, but just the idea that their instructor took the time to set up a virtual break and make it available shows that, again, the instructor cares about them and makes the class feel a little bit more inviting, right? Again, it's certainly not something that these students feel is a negative. So again, I might encourage you, if you do have the time, maybe this could be a good summer project. This definitely takes a little bit of time to do. Well, maybe create your own virtual break rooms, right? The history behind this was, again, anytime I go to one of these teaching presentations or teaching conferences, I'm always looking for at least one thing I can take to improve my class. Right. Well, I was at one teaching conference and I wasn't really getting a whole lot out of the presentations. They did have essentially this kind of same break room available. And you go to that break room and you can interact with different like publishers of different materials, right? And they even had like a puppy cam. It was just like a camera that was permanently on a pen of puppies at this pet store, right? That was trying to get those puppies adopted, and you just watch them play around, right? So it's like stuff like that. I was like, you know what? That might be a cool idea to have in my classroom. After all, if students get stressed out going through the module, maybe they can check out a virtual break. I haven't figured out a way to get a permanent puppy cam in there yet, right? But that's kind of my next goal. Now, this is kind of how students have felt about it. All right. Now, has it actually influenced any kind of performance or anything like that whatsoever? Well, our university actually did a really cool thing about giving us the different drop, fail, and withdrawal rates for different groups of students as they identify themselves. Right. So these are the DFW rates for, again, underrepresented minorities and those who are don't identify as underrepresented, right? Including different DFW rates for first generation versus not first generation, low income and not low income Pell grant recipients and non-Pell grant recipients, and then finally male versus female. Now, the classes that are highlighted in red here, these are the ones that I've taught. This is the same intro to microeconomics class. The ones here that are not highlighted in red, these are the ones that are taught by other instructors, right? And the winter 2021 is when I started toying around with the idea of these digital or virtual break rooms. And then winter of 2022, right, which is actually the first time that this class returned completely in person, although it was partially in person, partially online here in this first winter quarter. But this is when I actually had the virtual break rooms up and running in full steam, right? So I actually had them one for every module, and they were as fleshed out as they are now. So if you want to compare the DFW rates in my class versus the other classes, you're going to see that they are lower across the board. But the thing I really want to get at here is looking at the DFW rate once I had the virtual break rooms fully operational versus before I had them fully operational. Everything else in these classes are completely identical, right? In other words, all the lecture videos, all the setups of each module, right? Everything is exactly the same, except for in winter 2022, there was a virtual break room for every single module. And then winter of 2021, there wasn't, right? Notice that in every case, the DFW rates are lower, right? And, you know, a little bit, but fairly significant amount compared to what they were before, if you look at them in relation to my winter 2021 class, right? So every one of the DFW rates are lower, and in a lot of cases, the gap between these different groups is lower. And my goal is always to try to reduce these gaps, right, in the effort to improve our DI initiatives here on campus, right? And of course, to get these rates as low as possible. I don't want anybody dropping, failing, or withdrawing from my class if they don't have to, right? So again, I think it has made a difference in terms of improving some student success, right? Students, again, seem to report that they like the idea that it's there and that it's doing a good job. And so, again, I have this personal or conversational student feedback and those midterm teacher evaluations, and then a little bit of data to support that this does indeed help. Right. So with that in mind, that's all I have to share with you all. We got about 10 minutes left. Please let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything that you would like to share. You can do so publicly now, either in the chat or by unmuting your mic. Or if you want to just like email me privately and maybe give me some feedback on, my virtual break room or something that I can do to improve it, or maybe share something that you want to do, or if you have any questions about how to incorporate this in your class, then again, feel free to do so. It's just my name, joab.corey@ucr.edu. Just email me if you, again, have any questions, feedback, or need anything at all. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. With that in mind, hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. Hopefully you came away with at least one thing that you think you can incorporate in your class right away that might make that class better, whether it's including those university resources on your course site or syllabus, or whether it's including a midterm teaching evaluation as part of your classes, or again, maybe it's creating your own virtual break room and incorporating that in your class. Again, just hopefully there's one thing that you found useful here. Just let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'll open it up to that now.
So we've got our first question. Do you use the same break room every week or switch it up?
So again, there's a different virtual break room for each learning module. And generally speaking, that's one learning module per week, right? So when I develop these for the a course like my micro class that we just looked at, right, they're different week to week because again, we go through one module a week and there's a different one for each module. Having said that, when I teach this class again in the winter quarter, they're exactly the same as they were before. So again, I've spent a lot of work creating them one time, but now that I've created them one time, I just reuse them over and over every time I teach this class. Now, in my intro to macro class, I have a set of virtual break rooms, right, for each learning module. But again, I use those repeatedly for every one of those macro classes that I teach. And the reason why is because, again, the digital escape rooms are related to the material. And I do have a lot of students who take my micro class and end up taking my macro class after that. And so I want to make sure that they have just a different break that they can experience. So again, different each week, but the same over and over again for each class. And it will take a little bit of work to set up. I'm not going to lie there, but once you've got it set up, right, then again, you can just use it over and over again. And I will say this, that it is optional. I don't make students do it. So sometimes there's a lot more interaction in those virtual break rooms, and then sometimes there's less interaction. I know the first time I did it, I always roll out something new during a summer class. I rolled it out in a summer class, and for like the first 2 weeks, like nobody used it. And I thought I was going to cry, right? Because I spent all this work creating this, and then like nobody was checking it out. Right. And so I told my students at the midterm teacher evaluation, I was like, hey, don't forget to check out these virtual break rooms, or if you're not, just let me know why you're not. And I remember I had a student say, a couple students say, well, the summer class is pretty high paced, right? Like they're fast paced. There's like, we're condensing 10 weeks of material into 5 weeks of classes. So, they just didn't have as much time to explore it. But after, me kind of prompting them a little bit, they did report, having a positive experience with it. I noticed that when I rolled it out again during the longer 10-week winter quarter, I did have a lot more students engaging with it, right? Because they just had more time in between learning modules to kind of explore with it.
Not
Oh, great,
seeing
Laura!
any
I'm glad you are working with this stuff already. Yeah, if you have any questions about the digital escape room stuff, just let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those. Again, it can be a little intimidating to set up at first, but once you set up one, it's pretty easy to just keep rolling it. And that's one thing I want to kind of make stress out to everybody as well, is that if you have like 9 learning modules, you don't necessarily have to have one for each module. Maybe just do one every 3 modules your first time out. Just create 3 of these and just kind of build it from there, right? Like everything you saw in my class is stuff that I've kind of built up over 14 years of teaching this same class. So just don't think you have to do it all right away. Any other questions or comments? Does the $19 include unlimited escape room games? It's not unlimited. I think they have about 40 digital escape rooms that you can kind of preview and check out yourself. I think it stops at that 40, but it does give you instructions on how to create your own, which is why I signed up for it. So yeah, there are some escape rooms there that you can try and check out and have fun with yourself, right? But it's definitely not unlimited. I think they did have about 40 of them. I only checked out a couple of them just to kind of get the feel of how to create my own. I didn't check out all of them for sure. But yeah, they do have again, different kinds of ideas. And, some of mine are pretty rudimentary there at the beginning. So that module one was the first one I created. So again, there wasn't like a whole lot of variety there. But as I go deeper into my modules, you're gonna see different kinds of different clues out there and like maps and stuff like that that people can explore. So it gets more creative as I got better at it. But yeah, definitely includes, I think, 40 of them, or maybe it's 40 plus now, but it's definitely not unlimited. A link to the escape room site. Let me go ahead and it's in the slides, which I believe have been shared with you, but I'll go ahead and pull it up and share with you as well. So I'm copying it now, paste it in the link, or paste that link in the chat. Yep, so there it is. Yeah, so it says there now 30 digital escape rooms plus tips and tools for creating your own. So yeah, so 30 there is how many? I thought it was 40, but I guess it's 30. Yeah. But again, for a one-time fee of $19, yeah, that's pretty tough to beat. And honestly, like this was something that like I could have gone like and used my research budget for. Like I could have gotten the university to pay for if I really wanted it to, but at $19, like it wasn't even worth that hassle to me, right? Like I didn't want to have to submit a request form and then get it approved and then show them that actually like send them receipt. It's like for $19, I'll just pay for it. Yeah, thank you all for your attention. Again, I'll have to stick around if anybody has any questions, comments, or feedback. But hopefully you found this useful.